Part 1, The Maze, the Comfortable Life, and the Question that Awakens Winning. Today we live in a world overflowing with comfort, but starving for authenticity. You can speak to the whole planet in seconds, yet cannot sit still with your own breath for a single minute. We have self-driving cars, artificial intelligence, and pills that extend life, but who has the time to ask, am I truly alive, or merely being programmed to exist? From Tokyo to New York, from tech offices to psychiatric clinics, successful people quietly take sleeping pills just to make it through the night. And by morning, they wear an automated smile, as if happiness were an algorithm trained to look alive. I once met an engineer in Silicon Valley. He told me he had everything: a sea-view apartment, rising stocks, a loving family, and the intelligence to design virtual worlds. But one night, staring at his own face on a video call screen, he suddenly whispered, "The person in that window, is that me? Or just the version an algorithm has chosen, the most flattering angle, so I can keep believing I'm okay?" A simple question. Yet in the rush of life, it was like a crack in the concrete wall of awareness. And through that crack, light began to seep in. The Buddha once said, "No enemy can harm you as much as your own unawakened mind." And today, ignorance is no longer stupidity. It's the illusion of productivity that keeps us too busy to awaken. We think we know ourselves, but what we really know is just the social version of me. You are your job title, your phone brand, your online persona, curated, filtered, optimized. You are taught to be measurable. In a world of data, the human mind has become digitized, and the tragedy begins when we mistake movement for life. One day you wake up, you do everything right, on time, on schedule, by expectation, and yet everything feels hollow. Nothing bad happened. But inside there's a quiet emptiness. Not loud, not dramatic, just a whisper. If I disappear tomorrow, what truly remains? That question, small yet immense, is powerful enough to crack open the illusion of meaning you've spent your whole life constructing. Philosophers call it an existential crisis. Doctors call it mild depression. But those who truly face it know it's a spiritual summons. It doesn't come to destroy you, it comes to invite you home. Yet most people fear silence, because silence is where the roles end. And when the role ends, you must finally meet the one behind the mask. A young monk in Nepal once said, "When a person doesn't know who they are, they try to become everything others expect them to be." And that is the tragedy of the 21st century. We are living in an era of spiritual masquerades. People chase happiness through dopamine, seek love through filters, search for enlightenment through 60-second videos. But almost no one stops to ask, who is the one searching? That faint sense. Maybe you're listening to these words in a quiet room, or amidst the noise of a rushing city, and suddenly something stirs within you. That faint sense that perhaps you've been missing something essential. Don't fear that feeling. It is the first sound of awakening, a grain of sand in the machine, small, invisible, but enough to make you pause and ask the question the entire world avoids. Who am I? Who is living this life? And is there something within me that remains untouched by change? Part 2, The Fracture, when meaning falls apart. There comes a moment every seeker must face, when everything that once gave life meaning collapses. No thunder, no tragedy, just a quiet day when you look around and realize you no longer believe in the things that once kept you going. Work, reputation, goals, compliments, dreams of tomorrow, they're all still there, but somehow none of it touches your heart anymore. You keep smiling. You meet people. You say all the right words, but deep inside, something begins to crack. You start to see it clearly. You're not truly living. You're merely acting out a role written by society. Like a viral video played on repeat, everyone is performing, to be seen, to be validated, to feel that they exist. And when the audience leaves, they no longer know who they are. Today, there are millions of people like that, still working, still loving, still posting smiles, yet inside they carry a silent void with no name. A 2024 WHO report revealed that over 70% of young adults worldwide say their lives lack clear meaning. We can speak fluently with AI, but we can't sit down and truly listen to our own minds. The Buddha said, "No one saves us but ourselves. Walk your own path." But how can one walk when the very ground of belief has turned into dust? You used to believe that if you achieved enough, you'd be happy. If you were recognized, you'd find peace. But now, even after achieving everything, you feel an emptiness no success can fill. It's not that you've lost something, it's that you've begun to see clearly that everything you clung to was never truly real. All your passions, missions, and purposes were just sophisticated disguises your ego used to keep the illusion alive. In that moment of seeing, every definition, good and bad, success and failure, falls away like autumn leaves. You stand naked, no plans to lean on, no image left to defend. Only one question remains trembling in the dark. If I am not any of those things, then who am I? That is the fracture, but it is also the first breath of truth. The pain of meaning collapsing is not your death. It is the death of illusion. Just as a seed must split for a sprout to emerge, the soul must sometimes shatter for light to enter. When you stop clinging to your roles, when you stop needing a reason to live, you finally touch life directly. And for the first time, you no longer ask, "What am I living for?" You simply breathe and live. Part 3. The Search, the Labyrinth of the Self. When meaning collapses, a new movement begins. We start to search, searching for answers, searching for direction, searching for something that can patch the silent crack inside. But here lies the paradox. The one who searches is the very thing keeping you lost. The Buddha once said, "He who seeks the way but still clings to the eye has not yet begun to walk." When the material world no longer satisfies us, we turn to spirituality. Yet the ego that once wore the mask of success now puts on a mask of enlightenment. It begins collecting teachings like digital trophies, meditation, energy work, manifestation, raising vibration. All of it sounds sacred, but underneath lies the same old desire to be someone greater, purer, more special. A spiritual race, still running on the fuel of the ego. Today you can find courses titled Awaken in 7 Days, Become a Buddha in 3 Steps. People live stream their meditation, post about universal energy, then check their phones after every breath. We've turned the journey back to the self into a spiritual marketplace. And the ego is clever. It knows how to sit cross-legged, how to quote sutras, how to pretend to let go, just to feel superior for doing so. Some seek through knowledge, some through love, some through pain. But all have one thing in common: someone is still seeking. A Zen master once said, "Even thirst for truth is still the thirst of the ego." You may renounce possessions, but if you haven't renounced the one who wants to be pure, you're still chained. Look around you. People who claim to seek peace are often the most restless. They meditate to end stress, pray to calm the mind, let go, just to get something in return. That is not surrender. It is a new strategy of desire. As if the mind is whispering, "I will let go, but only if I get the result first." And in that very moment, the ego smiles. Then one day, after all the seeking, you grow tired of ideas, tired of teachers, tired of yourself. You sit down, not to meditate, not to achieve, just to sit. And in that stillness, you begin to hear the breath of life again. No more questions, no more questioner, only pure awareness, silent, vast, untouched. Part 4. Dissolution. Seeing the one who asks. After countless searches, you begin to see you have never truly found anything, because the one who is searching is the very one who is lost. Every question you ask, how can I be at peace, comes from the very self that is restless. And as long as that asker exists, every answer will be meaningless. You begin to notice it's not just the thoughts moving, there is someone who believes they are the thinker. That is the real trap. That is the ego, a shadow pretending to be substance, surviving only because you keep looking through it. The Buddha said, "No one defiles you but your own mind." But the mind he spoke of is not the one asking, it is the one that sees. One night, you stare into the mirror and realize the face looking back no longer feels like you. It's not just a reflection, it's a lifetime of roles. The good child, the strong one, the victim, the spiritual seeker, every one of them just a mask. And as each mask begins to fall, you panic, thinking you are disappearing. But in truth, it is in that very moment you return to yourself. You start to see, there is no one here to understand, no one to achieve, no one to practice. There is only awareness happening. It has no name. It doesn't belong to you. It doesn't begin, and it will never end. Like sunlight entering through a window, it never says, "I am shining." It simply is. That awareness has been there all along, before the question arose and after all questions fade. And then the strange miracle unfolds. The question, "Who am I?" suddenly becomes irrelevant. Not because you found the answer, but because there is no one left to ask. Like waking from a dream, you no longer ask, "Who was dreaming?" For the dreamer has vanished into the light of awakening. That is when you touch what the Buddha revealed. The seer is not the self. The seer is awareness itself. When you stop striving to know and begin instead to observe the one who wants to know, then all searching dissolves like smoke, the ego melts like mist, and only clarity remains. No one left to awaken, no goal to reach, only life itself, aware that it is living. Part 5. Merging. Living as if no one is living. When the seeker is gone, when the I no longer commands the stage, something miraculous begins. Life starts moving by itself. There is no longer someone living. There is only life, unfolding. Like a wave dissolving into the sea, still moving, still alive, but no longer aware of itself as a wave. From that moment on, everything you do, walking, sitting, eating, speaking, becomes meditation. Not because you are trying, but because there is no one trying anymore. There is no speaker, only speech arising. No doer, only action happening. And in this pure simplicity resides the total intelligence of existence itself. In today's world, where humans compete with machines, where AI writes music, paints, and even preaches philosophy, there remains only one thing it can never simulate: awareness. A machine can mimic emotions, but it cannot know that it feels. You, when freed from ego, are that knowing, the awareness itself. You don't need to escape the world, because when there is no self, the whole world lives within you. A person who merges with life doesn't need to live in a monastery. They may work in an office, raise children, pay bills, and still remain awake in every ordinary act. When washing dishes, they do not wash to finish. They wash to feel the water pass through their hands. When walking, they do not walk to arrive. They walk to feel each step touch the earth. There is no goal, only presence. And that is the truest freedom. Not escaping the world, but not being trapped by it either. Then you realize you don't need to awaken, because the one who needed awakening is gone. You don't need to reach enlightenment, because the path was never apart from you. No more you, no more me. Only life, smiling through every face. The Buddha said, "In all things, nothing is me and nothing lies outside of me." When that is seen, all questions fall silent, all fears dissolve, and what remains is a peace that has no opposite. You no longer live to prove. You no longer exist to be seen. You simply are, like clouds drifting, like wind moving, like light shining, without intention, without effort, without end.